In the old cities of Japan, ash didn't just disappear, it became currency. In the streets of Edo, more than 300 men were known as Haigainin, ash collectors. They walked from house to house calling out, "Any ash to sell? Haiwa gozarinka?" But they weren't collecting trash. They were gathering memory, what remained after warmth had passed. Ash was the silent end of fire, but in Edo, it was also the beginning of something else. Every home, whether merchant or farmer, had a hearth, and every hearth left behind ash. But rather than discarding it, people swept it carefully into wooden boxes or ceramic containers. Why? Because ash had value. When an ash collector arrived, he would weigh the contents, inspect its quality, and offer something in exchange. Rapeseed oil, cotton, a bar of soap. There was no coin, only trust, trade, and the quiet understanding that waste could still serve. Some ash was better than others. Hardwood ash, especially from oak or chestnut, was prized for its high potassium content, ideal for making lye, which in turn was used in soap, dyeing, and even traditional papermaking. Other ash was used to enrich farmland. Mixed into compost, it helped neutralize acidity in the soil. It wasn't just fuel transformed, it was nourishment returned. Markets for ash sprang up near rivers and town centers. One of the most famous was in Shingashi, Kawagoe, where ash from nearby villages and towns was brought by boat and traded in bulk. There, buyers looked not just at quantity, but at character. White ash for pottery, gray ash for dye, charred flecks for fertilizer. Some families even built haigoya, ash huts. These were not homes, but dedicated shelters to store and dry ash before market day. Ash was not just something you had, it was something you prepared. All of this created a silent economy, one built not on consumption but on circulation. A society where even the byproducts of life were considered resources. It might sound strange now, in our world of trash bins and plastic waste, but in Edo, the word for garbage barely existed. Everything had a second life, even dust. When people today speak of SDGs, or circular economies, they imagine the future, but Japan once lived that future in the past. This way of thinking, housing everything, of wasting nothing, was not about environmentalism. It was just life. A rhythm built on scarcity, care, and ingenuity. And in this rhythm, the ash collector was more than a trader. He was a quiet thread weaving homes and fields, city and countryside, fire and soil. Some elders still remember the cries of the ashmen. Some temples still keep ash pits behind their kitchens. And if you ever visit a rural home, you might find a lidded jar tucked in the corner, filled with soft gray powder, waiting to be useful again. So the next time you sweep out your fireplace, or see the remains of a burned log, don't just think of what's gone. Think of what it might become. Ash is not an end. Sometimes it's a beginning.